The following extracts provide context for the concept of land reform. According to the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, 72% of privately owned land is held by white South Africans, despite them comprising less than 10% of the population. Black South Africans, who make up over 80% of the population, own less than 9% of agricultural land. With a complex history shaped by colonialism, apartheid and post-apartheid reforms, the country's land ownership system plays a pivotal role in farming productivity, rural development, and social equity. The apartheid regime enforced racially discriminatory laws that concentrated land ownership in the hands of a white minority, relegating black South Africans to communal or homeland areas with insecure tenure and limited rights. This legacy has left deep structural inequalities in land ownership and access. Post-apartheid governments have introduced various land reform programs aimed at redressing historical injustices. These include land restitution, land redistribution, and land tenure. Land reform refers to a change in the way in which agricultural land is owned. In South Africa, there are a number of aims that land reform wishes to achieve. It aims to give previously disadvantaged individuals or communities access to land ownership in the hope that such individuals or communities will be able to derive an income or profit from the land in order to decrease poverty and decrease food insecurity and to achieve social justice. Land restitution, land redistribution, and land tenure are strategies employed by the South African government in order to achieve land reform. Each of these definitions must be understood. Land restitution involves land being returned to the previous owners, and these previous owners were dispossessed of the land during apartheid. Land redistribution references land that is given to previously disadvantaged individuals, and these include people who have previously not had the opportunity to own any land. And then land tenure provides land ownership and, more importantly, land rights to those living on communal land. In South Africa, it especially includes those who have historically and traditionally lived and, more importantly, worked on land owned by someone else. This land tenure ensures that those who have worked the land for many, many years, although they are not owners of the land, have rights, and under the land tenure, the owners are not allowed to evict the workers. The following are some questions that appeared in the June 2025 NSC SC exam paper. Question 1.3 of paper 2 deals with land reform in South Africa. Feel free to pause the video at this stage to just read through the extract. Question 1.3.2 refers to a land reform program that has returned 6.68 million hectares of land to the rightful owners. That information was taken from the extract, and the answer was land restitution, because the aim of land restitution is to return land to people that have previously been dispossessed. 1.3.3, according to the extract, there's an economic principle that was used for land redistribution in South Africa. That answer is the willing buyer, willing seller principle. 1.3.4 is a classic question. Describe the challenges associated with the land redistribution principle being used. In other words, the answer that was mentioned in question 1.3.3, which was the willing buyer, willing seller principle. Some of the challenges include the fact that the seller was not willing to sell the land. The seller is often not wanting to accept the price that is being offered by the government for the land. Often the seller wants a huge amount of money for the land. The seller is often not getting the price for what the land is valued at. The land redistribution process is a slow and a drawn-out process. Often there are expensive legal costs. Government that has to buy the land from the current owner often doesn't have enough money in its budget to buy back enough land, and mismanagement of funds on the part of government or corruption on the part of government often leads to money going missing that was set aside for land redistribution. Just important to note here that the purchase of the land is the responsibility of government. Government is the entity that needs to set aside the money to buy the land so that the land can be redistributed. There's often a misconception among matriculants in that the people that are going to receive the land, that those are the ones that actually have to buy the land themselves. So please be careful. Government is responsible for buying the land and finding the money to buy the land, and then government is then responsible for redistributing the land to people who have previously not been able to own land. 1.3.6 suggests how land reform can provide economic security to people in rural areas in South Africa. And so the emphasis in here is on how to alleviate poverty and how to ensure that people have access to money and access to jobs. Often when people are given land in rural areas, the idea is to shift towards commercial farming, and commercial farming in itself will be able to generate an income. Once people are able to generate an income, it means they have money in their pocket to buy products, so there's greater buying power. And once there's an income, people are able to support other businesses in the area. Land reform often involves infrastructure development, especially in terms of your transport infrastructure. And the very obvious impact here is that once there's more commercial farming in the rural areas, that there are greater employment opportunities for people in the rural areas. Here's some more questions from past papers to just help with gaining a better understanding of land reform and what could possibly be tested in an examination. Again, feel free to just pause the video and to run through the questions and answers.